Welcome guys, my name is Ishan, also known as the E-Pad, and today I'll be looking at Kirby and the Crystal Shards for the Nintendo 64. Firstly, I'd like to apologize once again for my last video. The Donkey Kong Country playthrough did not turn out as well. The footage ended up being very laggy after exporting into Handbrake. I promise you, none of that is happening here. I looked over it. Elgato is now working a lot better than it was before. And remember, I'm just taking baby steps at this. We're just getting things started and improving on any little technical issues I can have, and I can probably get around to it. With that said, let's get this started.
The Kirby series is not the kind of platformer I've been all the most interested in. In fact, the only Kirby games I did play was Crystal Shards and Epic Yarn, though I don't have much to say about Epic Yarn as it is. I did grow up playing this game, but that didn't last for about 2 years since I had to sell my Nintendo 64 for the new GameCube at the time. The Kirby series has been developed by HAL Laboratory, also consisting of Masahiro Sakurai. Oddly enough, Sakurai also worked on the Super Smash Bros. Series, which I didn't realize until a couple months after Brawl's release. And my first exposure to Kirby was Smash 64, maybe the company was trying to tell me something. Kirby 64 and its reception seems to be criticized more towards the fact that it was short and lacks much challenge. To be fair, that's what the whole series seems to be accounted for. And I can attest to that. I don't recall having much trouble with this game in my childhood, and the biggest obstacles I found, at least for my first playthrough, was the quote-unquote final boss and scavenger hunt for the Crystal Shards, which I'll get into later. On the plus side, the positive feedback with Kirby 64 is its colorful graphics and varied level design. This game was released in the year 2000, so you can see the further improvements in the Nintendo 64's lifespan. Everything just looks clean, even during certain dungeon levels where the terrain is still distinguished with the rest of the area. Now then, let's look at that lighthearted Kirby plot. It was a beautiful day in a heart-shaped Ripple Star, when suddenly evil, which the game likes to explain as dark matter. One of the fairies named Ribbon was meant to flee from her hometown, but ended up immediately in Dreamland with the Crystal Shard shattered. So of course, meeting Kirby on the way when crashing, the team is now searching for the pieces of the Crystal Shard and restore Ripple Star to its original form, along with Waddle Dee, Adeline, and King Dedede. So yeah, I can't say I'm surprised that something like a Kirby game would have a simple plot, even after playing Donkey Kong Country. Trust me, when I find a game that has a more in-depth story, I'll probably become more scatterbrained, seeing that there are more roles to be met. Still though, as happy as this game starts out, it does evolve into something more dark. That's probably because of the true final boss that lives in dark matter, Zero Squared, or 02, or O2. With the shift from 2D to 3D for the Nintendo 64, there was no doubt to assume that Kirby would make a similar jump like Mario. But no, Kirby is still sticking as a 2D platformer with the inclusion of 3D graphics and isometric viewpoint. The main technique Kirby is known for is to devour his enemies, occasionally holding a power-up. What Kirby 64 did new here was the ability to combine powers into something more extravagant. There are some cool ones like the lightsaber power-up with the force being unleashed all over this little cuteness, and my personal favorite, the explosive ninja star. It's fast, has unlimited range, and can take down bosses with ease. This is the most broken power-up in the game, the snowflake power-up. You are stationary, sure, but anything coming in contact with you will die. Just look at the battle against Adeline. I'm just sitting here minding my own business and boom, I'm done. I don't like them all, however, as some of them are just so useless and situational, like the power-up combining fire and ice. Okay, what was that all about? And then we have the Crystal Shards. These things are made to help 100% the game. Now in the real world, a lot of games don't have much reason for 100% aside from bragging rights. However, if you give me an ending that seems like a cliffhanger, but instead of signs saying that I actually haven't completed the game yet, that's when I know it's best to find these shards in the first place. Folks, make sure you find all Crystal Shards in your first playthrough. It's the reason why I did not complete the game as a kid, but now it's all the more satisfying after finding Zero Squared and watching that true ending. With that said, the Crystal Shards are not so bad to hunt for. Firstly, you can see what shards you missed out on in the stage select screen. Secondly, if you are backtracking to find a shard you skipped over, you can exit the level once you have found it and it will be saved to your collection. Majority of the shards you'll find are normally in the open or after a mini-boss. Then there are some hidden behind specially marked walls. The walls are color coordinated to match what power-up you need to open it with. Now they're not all that bad, it's not hard to backtrack to these areas if you don't have the power-up, but then we have to deal with the dynamite power-up. The second stage of Neostar is so picky with what power-up you need to break the wall with. The dynamite power-up can damage Kirby once it blows up. Now you can hold the down button and wear a hard hat to prevent the damage, but you are still vulnerable to enemies, and you still need to put up with everything beforehand. Still, I do like how the game lets you experiment with these power-ups for both completion's sake and attacking the enemies. Kirby also has this amazing slide kick he can do, which doesn't sound like much, but it takes out many enemies no problem. I should give mention to Kirby's flutter ability as well. In previous games you can continuously fly to avoid obstacles, though it's no longer unlimited, which is probably not to miss out on the Crystal Shards. While I gave mention to the graphics, the music and sound is alright at best. Nothing really sticks with me here. As joyful as this game is, I guess it works, though the tracks I remember more were all the boss themes, especially Zero Squared. I must say I've had my enjoyment playing this title again. I personally need to go out and play another Kirby game, but Kirby 64 holds a nice place in me. My first Kirby game in Nintendo 64 that still plays great, well, I can dig that. It's $10 on a Wii Virtual Console, or you can play it on the Kirby's Dream Collection for the Wii, which I would suggest over.
Before I close off, I want to thank you guys for your patience. I haven't been really recording much because of Majora's Mask 3D. I've been playing that for a long time, which is why Kirby 64 was a good option for me to play, because how short the game is. Next time I'll be looking at a Nintendo GameCube game. I haven't decided which one it is, but that's the fun of it. I like to see which games I like to play out first, and then we'll head up to the Wii, and then we'll see where we'll go from there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all whenever. Take care.